Okay, so let's talk about what happens at that point where FERC issues a certificate. So again, you are the owner of this grove of pecan trees. The pipeline is proposed to go through your grove and take out 50 or 100 trees, and FERC approves that route. So you've already intervened. What happens next? Well, under the Natural Gas Act, you have to go back to FERC and file a rehearing request. And you might be thinking, why would I go back to the agency that already ignored all of my arguments to begin with? Isn't that a waste of time? Well, the answer to that is because the statute says so. Like I said, FERC is governed by what the law says, and landowners are also governed by what Congress said. Congress said that after a certificate is issued, parties have to go back to FERC to give FERC an opportunity to reconsider some of these issues. So you can file what's called a petition for rehearing, and you basically ask the commission to reconsider. You make your arguments that you made before about why putting the pipeline through your grove as opposed to putting in the road is a bad idea. So after that, what happens? Well, under the Natural Gas Act, it also tells us what is supposed to happen. The Natural Gas Act says that FERC has 30 days to act on your request for rehearing. If FERC doesn't act on the request in 30 days, your request is deemed denied. And so you might be thinking, well, that doesn't sound good. I mean, if FERC can't act in 30 days, I don't want my request denied. Well, it's very counterintuitive. You actually do want it denied, because what that means is once your request for rehearing is denied, that's the way you get into court. Unless there's a final decision on your rehearing request, unless it's granted or denied, you can't challenge the case in court. And so what Congress wanted was for FERC to make a decision quickly one way or another. That's why it gave it 30 days, so that people wouldn't be tied up waiting and waiting to get their case into court. Well, what FERC has done is it's come up with a way around this provision of the statute. And what FERC will do is it'll say, hey, 30 days isn't a really long time, but we want to reconsider these arguments. And the reason FERC wants to reconsider them is sometimes it does change its mind, but more often than not, it just wants an opportunity to give additional reasons to back up its decision so it's less likely to be overruled if the case goes to court. So FERC has said, well, look, again, 30 days isn't a long time. We want to give ample consideration to these arguments. So what FERC does is it says, we'll grant this request, so we'll take an action. We'll act in 30 days to grant your request, but we need more time to really look at the substance. And so we're going to grant the request, but we're going to stop the clock from running to give ourselves more time. And that's what's known as a tolling order. Essentially, FERC tolls or stops that 30-day deadline from running. So like I said, when the 30-day deadline doesn't run, there's no final decision until FERC acts. And more often than not, FERC will take a long time to act on those rehearing requests. And I think the most recent statistic I've seen showed something along the lines of an average of 200 days to act on a rehearing request. And I can tell you from my own cases, I've seen some rehearing requests that have been pending for close to a year. I have seen others that are acted on in 3 or 4 months. And even more recently, I've seen 1 or 2 where FERC has actually acted within the 30-day period because they were relatively small cases.